Hello and welcome to the Guinness World Records Gamers Podcast, episode 15. I'm your host, Mike Plant, and with me is our video games records manager, Luke Wakeham.
Hello.
And our pair of games journalists, Jack Turner
Hey.
and Andy Lachlan.
Hello.
We've got a really good show for you this week. We'll be talking about some of the games we've been playing, which are pretty good games this week, I think we'll have to all agree. We'll get to the big news, including the Pokémon stuff that came out last week, which we didn't get time to talk about last week because it came out just after we'd recorded. Typical.
Well, we made some predictions.
Yeah.
We did.
None of which came
We
true.
Wrong.
We predicted there would be a Pokemon game.
Oh yeah, we nailed that.
And then we've got our on the record section for you, this time on, well, PlayStation 2 games, but we'll get to that when we get there, shall we? Yeah. So on with the show. Okay, guys, so we're going to start with the games we've been playing this week, as I just said. So, who wants to go first?
You're looking at me, so...
Because you're the one who wants to.
Yeah, go on then. So I've been playing Deltarune, which is obviously an anagram of Undertale, so it's the sequel to Undertale, the hit game that's been on pretty much every system, I think, in the world. So it's very similar, but they have made some improvements, and it's just really... It retains that same sense of humour. Like I don't think, well, I won't spoil the beginning, but it starts off with a gag basically that is quite clever, and it's just got that sort of really sort of anarchic, really unusual, quite well paced. Although some of it is a little bit laboured. Offbeat, off kilter kind of comedy to it is genuinely funny in parts. Like the way it plays with video game tropes, the way it kind of sends up the kind of concepts of video games. They've improved,
especially RPGs.
Especially RPGs. It's like a love letter, but also a kind of a mockery of Zelda, isn't it? Really, the combat's been slightly improved. It's a little bit slicker, and it's a little bit more kind of smoother, but it's still the same. Really, it's a puzzle basically. You've got to work out what you're supposed to be doing with that enemy and piecing all the clues together, and that obviously usually doesn't mean killing them. It's or fighting them rather.
So I've been playing this as well.
Oh.
So they've made it a little bit more obvious, I think, that what the combat about in Undertale is not fighting, it's about discussing a way to get out of the fight.
Yeah.
So you can kind of compliment somebody and then they'll kind of get a little bit embarrassed and that might make their attack drop. Then if you do that enough, it might make it so eventually you can kind of just spare them and then the combat comes to a sort of graceful neutral end.
Yeah.
And in Undertale, to get the perfect ending, you're supposed to not kill anyone, I think.
Yes.
It's probably the same in this game too, although it's only chapter 1, so no one quite knows yet. But I guess the point is that this game makes it more obvious from the start that killing people isn't your best option. Whereas with Undertale, they don't really tell you that until...
No, you got to work it out really, which... I think they're probably assuming you've already played
Undertale.
Undertale,
It does say at the start, if you don't play this unless you played Undertale.
Yeah, so it's like, it wasn't much point making... So they make it pretty clear from that aspect. You can, flirt with, awkwardly flirt with people, and, the enemies will go, oh, I'm really happy now. I've dropped my guard. And then they'll get sleepy, and you can put them to sleep.
So you awkwardly flirt with people and then they get sleepy.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Analogous.
It's like looking in a mirror, basically. Yeah.
So, having never playlayed Undertale before, I should not be playing this game, even though it's free, which is...
So this is the first free chapter, so obviously the additional chapters that are paid for. It's pretty long.
How long it is? Is it?
Yeah, it's about 2 or 3 hours for the first chapter, so the whole game must be pretty long, because Undertale wasn't that long.
Have you got to the end of the chapter?
Yeah, I haven't completely finished it, but I'm pretty much at the end,
okay.
I think, or unless something crazy is going on, because it's kind of like an end boss, basically. But it's the art styles were really interesting. It's really good fun to play. It's just genuinely good fun to play. It's got a bit of it's just different, to a lot of stuff out there, really.
Good fun.
It is good
to
fun.
Play.
Good fun.
To go back to Jack's thing, so yeah, I think the game is basically, unless I'm totally misunderstanding what happened in Undertale, I think it's a prequel to Undertale, is it? So I think that's why it doesn't want you to play... It wants you to play Undertale first, because otherwise it kind of ruins Undertale for you.
Yeah, because you will know certain
elements. what sort of happens.
Yeah. But... it kind of nails that kind of vibe of a bit of angsty sort of kind of teenagery things and stuff like that. But I think it's really, really good.
But in Monster World, so all the teenagers are monsters.
Yeah.
But they're still angsty.
The Monster Mash.
But yeah, I also have enjoyed it good.
Wow. Another quote for the poster.
Treasure.
Done good.
Jack, I'll not get to you next because you've been playing some older games. We'll get to that at the end, maybe.
Oh, right.
But, so we're skipping you. I have been playing a lovely little puzzle game called Treasure Stack. So this is by Pixelates. And I think you probably all have seen the videos on like Directs and stuff on Nintendo Directs. So treasure chests, two treasure chests at a time, and they're attached to each other, fall down from the top. You've got a grappling hook, and you can drag them down towards you. You position them, and then some of the things that drop down sometimes are keys, and the right coloured keys open the right coloured boxes, and also bombs and swords and kind of like anchors, or what are the things called that people hammer on swords?
Hammer on?
Well, hammer make swords on.
What?
You know,
like
anvil. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes this is also charades. If you don't get the memo. Yeah. So you got those three things, which also help you clear the treasure chests. But yeah, it basically gets really, really fast, really, really quickly, and the key is stacking all of the same colours together, and then getting the right coloured keys, and kind of making, as with any puzzle game, essentially making a chain of these things. You can get rid of lots in one go, but because you're actually a character is on the bottom of the actual thing, so it's not just blocks falling, you're in the grid, so you're at the bottom, so that means you can jump, but you can only jump one treasure chest up, so you need to like arrange the treasure chest so you can get up them like stairs and things like that. So it's
Right.
actually, it kind of combines a bit of Tetris or that kind of game with a bit of platforming and kind of a unique spin. But yeah, no, it's really
found that hilarious.
really addictive, and I can't stop playing it. And even though it's not got anything like, so there's loads of different characters you can unlock and loads of different grappling hooks you can unlock, but they're all like the same. Ultimately, there's no different abilities to them.
So
They're just cosmetic.
Okay.
But I still can't stop myself from going back in, unlocking the next one. The game gets super, super difficult when you hit around the 500 point mark, which I've only ever got to a few times anyway. I think my high score was something like 600 and something. By that point, it's just like at the end of Tetris where they go, it's like more luck than anything by that point. But I still can't stop myself going back into it. It's really addictive.
So it's not like a game where you progress. It's more just getting good.
Yeah,
a marathon
it's
attempt.
just, it feels like it could have a campaign, and it would be like really fun to go through and have like a bit like what's the one called where you're like the flying guy with the arrows? Newish game. There's four of you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing really well for
Towerfall.
recollection.
Is that
Towerfall, yeah.
One of it.
Thank God all you,
Charades is coming in.
thank God all you young people
Sounds
are here.
like... Yeah.
But yeah, it would like that has like a sort of, it's nothing really, but it's a little bit of a progression path and a campaign, although there's not really any story beats to it or anything. But this could just do with something just as simple as that to make it feel like you're progressing in some way. But ultimately, we didn't complain about Tetris when it didn't have it didn't have a way to. There's no, all you do is restart and restart and restart and get better and better and better, and that's what this is. It also has 2-player mode online, which I've obviously not played because A, there weren't any real players out until quite recently, and B, I don't have Nintendo Online.
Is it sort of a combat online? Is it like versus?
Yeah. So so one of the things I've not mentioned is even when you're playing single player, there's this kind of like volcano constantly ticking up, and that erupts every so often and covers your blocks, your treasure chests in
You didn't mention the volcano, Mike.
I know. I've not
Next
played
level.
it multiplayer, but I expect that is then replaced by each of us blocks
Attacking,
doing
right,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
Right.
But no, it's all, you can also play 2-player co-op, which is kind of cool.
Oh.
One day we'll have to have a go. We'll have to play on it. But yeah, it's really good, and I can't remember exactly how much it is, but I don't think it's very pricey either. So it's a tick in the old Andy box.
Are we below £5?
No, no. The old Sheffield Steeler, right?
That sounds pricey.
But yes, Luke, so what have you been?
Yeah, I've played a couple things. I picked up Starlink Battle for Atlas because it was on sale on the eShop. I think it was down to like £20, like 65% off. And I saw that in the direct that new content's coming to it. It's quite a fun little game. It's you know, I bought it digitally, so I'm not using any of the Toys to Life stuff, and I get loads of ships.
They've got the R-Wing, haven't they?
You got the R-Wing in there, so I'm essentially calling it a Star Fox game in my head. I'm not going to switch out any of the other pilots or anything like that. Nope, I'm going to play as Fox through the entire thing. But I mean, the combat is quite fun. It's quite simplistic. You're just mainly just sort of circle strafing at your enemies. There's lots of different weapon combinations. I think the sort of supposed nuance of the game is supposed to come from all the different things you've got to manage on the planets. So you've got to make sure that the Legion, the bad guys, aren't taking over the planet. So you've got to constantly defend outposts and attack new areas and keep basically everything guarded.
Is it basically Far Cry / any other Ubisoft game in space?
Yeah, it's very Ubisoft-y, softy. Meets No Man's Sky. It's a much more satisfying gameplay loop than No Man's Sky, because I mean there's actual combat and you're not constantly looking for resources.
It's a game.
Sick burn on No Man's Sky.
But yeah, I can see it's a bit of a, I guess, a demanding time sink, and I can see that potentially it will get a bit repetitive. But I think quite good on the Switch for just sort of picking up and like, oh, I'm going to blast a few things, clear a couple of outposts, and then come back to it a couple of weeks later or something like that.
Do you think you can get through the game without having to buy any of the extra bits? Because obviously you can swap out weapons on the ships and stuff.
Yeah, so how do they work, the like actual physical R-Wing?
So, I mean, as I say, I'm playing digitally, so I get, I think, 4 or 5 different pilots, and they each come with their own ship and everything like that. If I'd bought the physical edition starter pack, I think you only get 2. So I guess that they're kind of act as your lives. So if you die during the middle of a mission, you can just swap out for another pilot, or the same pilot but a different ship. And then all the different weapon attachments, you can just basically open a menu and just add the different weapons. I think I've got all the weapons. I've got like quite a few there already.
Have you paid X amount of money?
Yeah. No, because as I say, I just got the standard digital edition, and from what I can gather, I've got loads of weapons. I've got like 4 different pilots and 4 different types of ships that each have their own different special ability. Foxes being basically calling in support, and you get the original Star Fox music,
Slippy,
which is amazing. Yeah, no, I'm not very happy when Slippy comes in, but during the very first dogfight, what's his name, Peppy, does do a barrel roll, and I was like, yes, I'm in.
Tick that box. Yeah. And the DLC is all Star Fox based, right? So
I think
the
so,
stuff come up is exclusive to Switch.
To the Switch, yeah. So they say that the Switch edition is kind of the definitive edition because it's got this extra stuff in it. So
presumably somewhere in the past they signed some sort of exclusivity deal with Nintendo to keep rolling stuff out for a while. Maybe. I don't know.
Probably the same sort of deal with was it Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle?
Yeah, it's all linked in, isn't it? It's actually, it'll be interesting this E3 to see if there's another Ubisoft Nintendo marriage.
Well, it seems to be pretty successful, doesn't it? Like that Rabbids game's done pretty well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. That is really good, and it had the new Donkey Kong stuff that I've not actually got around to yet. But
so other than that, I actually went back to a bit of an old game myself. My favourite all-time game from the previous generation. I played Max Payne 3.
I've got the special edition boxed with the statue of that.
Oh, really?
Now worth
collection.
less than
yeah.
So a lot of people don't seem to like this game. I think because the was it Remedy sold the rights to Rockstar to make this third sequel. Or second sequel rather. I really like it. I think that the story is really good and engaging. I like the fact that the chapters change, so it's constantly changing your environment. So yes, some levels you're playing in like a favela, some others you're playing on the streets of New York. I love the sort of jumping through the air, slow motion, dual wielding guns. I love Hong Kong action movies, so this just ticks all the right boxes. I would say that yes, it is a bit interruptive with cutscenes. So you basically clear maybe 2 rooms and then cutscene for something to transition to the next room. And then, so there's a lot of story. I think a lot of it's to hide loading that's happening in the background because it's quite a detailed game.
Yeah.
But playing it on its hardest mode, just loving it. Just remembering how much I loved this game.
I'm actually surprised it's not been remastered. Like, not remastered because it's not, that wouldn't be a remaster. But you know what I mean, re-released on PS4.
Well, I can remember doing previews of this, and it seemed at the time an odd game for Rockstar to pick up, and like we did push them on
just like
why?
Rockstar table tennis.
Yeah, it wasn't like an engine game or anything like that. It just seemed really odd, and I remember asking them at the time, like, and they never quite got the story of why they'd picked it up, because there was no real history to them in this series.
And they're not done anything
one and
with
two
it
was
since.
really popular.
Yeah.
They sold really well, and like Max Payne 1 was a genre-defining type of game, with the slow motion mechanic.
But it feels like there's a massive gap between those two and then 3.
Yeah,
and then they've done
yeah.
nothing with it since. Maybe they
It was quite fun,
Because
though.
it could have been the movie. With
Maybe they were looking at developing a film or something at some
Yeah.
point and haven't. I mean, the funny thing, obviously, it's okay for it to be oldie fashioned because of it's an older game. But like, it's really derivative the way it's just literally you go into a room, you have to clear all of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go into another room, you have to clear all of those.
But I would
guys.
say that gameplay loop never actually gets tiring, because the sort of the idea of trying to optimize your run and do the optimum sort of clearing out of a room is really cool, and it's really satisfying. To sort of jump through the air and manage to take out 3 people before getting up and then running again and jumping somewhere else. It's just really fun.
There's another game of charades here, but there was a game in a direct that was basically
Here we go.
multiplayer Max
Oh,
Payne, wasn't
God.
there? Do you remember that? It was a
Yeah.
direct where they were just leaping around doing.
It was one where you were
acrobatic-
2 cops. You were cops, like a duo of cops.
No, I don't think
Cops,
it's.
cops.
I don't think it's
Cops
out
more.
yet.
No, that was what I was
There
saying.
was
It
Hong Kong action game.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
Oh no,
it's-
that what
Is
is that?
it a top-down one
Yeah, that
where
was it,
you're
yeah.
like Chow Yun Fat or something jumping through windows?
Do you remember the Chow Yun Fat game, Stranglehold?
I do.
Yeah,
Loved it.
Yeah, and you're going down, like sliding down the banister, and, like and it's like that was pretty satisfying. But then it got quiet, and then there was the other one was supposed similar to that was Wet. Do you remember
Oh
Wet?
yeah.
Bethesda game.
Vaguely, yeah.
You know, the lady with she had the sword and the guns, and
Yeah,
you basically
yeah,
just do outrageous moves. And that also got a bit boring after a while.
Andy, the review.
yeah.
So yeah, just been really enjoying that. And just quickly,
How much time do you have on your hands?
I've started a New Game Plus on God of War, going for the hardest difficulty. New Game Plus, it's difficult. That's all I'll say. So
Wow.
like first combat encounter, I was like, oh my word, and I'm not used to the combat again, having to get myself back into the groove. But I'm looking forward
That
to
is
it.
a tough game.
Yeah.
Jack, what old games have you been playing?
Yes.
Old man Jack.
Yes, thank you for that. Like Luke, I've also been playing old games, but I just remembered I played a game at the arcade the other day.
Oh,
An arcade
wow.
day.
Was it Halo?
No, it wasn't Halo. I was at a popular British seaside resort, and in amongst all the penny pushers and the fruit machines,
Time Crisis.
oh yeah, Time Crisis 5 was there, of
Oh.
course. But I played Star Wars in a battle pod.
Oh right, yeah.
yeah.
So how much did
Trench
that
Run.
set you?
It was
back?
£1,
Oh, okay.
and I did really well, and it said another £1 to play next level. I thought this is
What a
No,
that's
what do you mean?
Swizz that is.
it was cool.
Yeah.
It was
That's an immediate yes. Put it straight in.
At least in the old days, they had the more class about making the boss impossible to
Yeah.
kill, so you had to put another 20p in. Or something.
I do wonder if it made me think I'd done really well, just to try and coax more money out of me. But it was cool because you're sat in a X-wing like little hub thing, and when you start the game, it blows wind in your face, so it feels like
Oh,
you're
wow.
That weren't the game.
Where does the wind come from?
Yeah, that's a bit grim.
Anyway, so
In those
not-
claustrophobic
not,
arcades.
not very often you get to play a game in an arcade, but there it was. So I've been playing 2 older PS.
Hang on, I want more information on the Star Wars game.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Yeah.
Like,
Is it
what
So
the
was
it
with
was,
the
it was a
joystick, or-
trench run. Yes, it was joystick.
Oh,
so there's
I
a
remember
throttle
that,
and then a
Right,
joystick.
okay.
Could you look around and was there like
I could look
screens
around, yeah.
everywhere?
So the screen was curved,
You could be a
probably to like your peripheral vision.
Did you wear a helmet?
No, I didn't have my
Was
helmet with me that
R2D2
day.
behind you?
No,
Did
that
they
would
play
be
the
good.
music?
Yes, they
Yes,
played the
of
music.
course.
Yes, there was wind. Yes, there was the Star
Are
Wars
you
thing.
Luke in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it ends with firing the
So
torpedo.
trench run. Vader comes in.
Did you disengage your computer?
Yeah, disengage. Yeah.
You
Disengage my targeting
force.
computer.
Was it better than the GameCube
Yes.
Rogue Squadron?
Yes, it was.
Oh well, it's good
That's
then.
an
That was an
amazing
amazing.
game.
I wasn't saying that for jollies. That was
Yeah,
brilliant.
but you didn't play that on a 100-inch screen, though, did you? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Some of us
With
did.
wing difference.
Yeah, there was the
Rich-
wind really
Richard.
was coming from a different place.
So I'll just zip through the other. So I've been playing a couple of PS3 games. One is Resistance 3 because I've got my finger on the pulse. So that's
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were saying before, so that was made by Insomniac,
Yes.
who have obviously
Yes.
famously now made Marvel, but also made Infamous.
Yeah.
And what else did we say?
Ratchet and Clank, obviously, and what
Did
else?
it, Sunset Overdrive?
Yes, Sunset
Yeah.
Overdrive.
Oh yeah, of course.
cheers,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how did it play as a first-person shooter that skipped PS4 generation. I
Yeah, well, it's kind of weird they haven't done anything with Resistance this gen. I find that quite strange.
Because Resistance 1 was a PS3 full launch title.
Yeah. Also, yeah. I loved that whole series, actually.
That was a good game, yeah.
The second one was probably the best, I think. The third one, I started to lose a little bit of interest. The first one, you can play in co-op as well, like local co-op, which is like really unusual these days.
Yeah, that's a nice. Obviously, I've been playing on my own, but
Oh, Billy No Mates.
It does feel slightly dated in some ways. I mean, there's no regenerating health for one thing. You've got to pick up health packs.
That's like Wolfenstein.
If you can imagine
It's
that.
classic though.
Yeah. Well, no, it's great. Yeah. Absolutely. The best thing about it is the guns. There's a big range of guns, and they all have really cool features. So one of them we were talking about before, you can shoot through walls at bad guys, which is awesome.
You can see them through it, can't you?
Yeah,
You
there's
see
like a silhouette.
a haze, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a
Haze
like a
was another game.
phase.
Yeah, do you remember that
Yeah.
game?
Let's not talk about haze. Yeah, it feels ripe for a remake or remaster or something.
Let's have a collection, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking about other PlayStation 3 shooters. Killzone's another one. I know they made one at launch, but that's been dormant for a while.
Yeah, but then
Shadow
they made
4.
Horizon, didn't they? So
Yeah, I guess
that
so.
was Guerrilla, wasn't it?
But so yeah, I've been enjoying that. Another game I've been playing is Eco, the PlayStation 3 remaster. So I played it on the PS2 back in the day.
I've got that and Shadow of the Colossus on PS2.
Yeah, so they bundled them together, didn't they? It
Just
was
saying.
remaster. Cheers, Mike.
Things Mike owns.
Can I come around? Can I come around and look at it?
It's like a bloody Antiques Roadshow.
I've actually got 2 copies of each.
All right.
Oh, Mike, come on.
So that's another game. So they remastered Shadow of the Colossus recently for PlayStation 4. And a lot of people said, why don't they redo Eco as well?
It's just one big escort mission.
And it's because
It
it
is.
controls like garbage.
Yeah, I mean, it takes...
Don't you have a stick? You have a stick.
You have a stick.
Yeah.
Yes, you're
This is the
given...
most exciting game I've ever
you are allowed a stick. And yes, you're basically literally holding someone's hand. Literally hand holding for the entire game. And the controls feel very dated.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of frustration.
Even more so than Shadow of the Colossus when you're playing the older version of it.
Yeah.
Or The Last Guardian.
I was going to say, The
Oh,
Last
yeah.
Guardian had some control issues as well, where you're
Oh,
trying to get
awful.
the beast to do what you wanted it to do. This is basically like a sort of smaller version of that.
I think it was fixed in the HD remaster on PS4, wasn't it? But it wasn't... What were they called? The Japan studio. It wasn't them who made that remake, was it? It was...
Bluepoint?
They gave it to Bluepoint
Yeah.
to do, yeah. So I guess Bluepoint knew how to make good controls.
I mean, I still think it's an awesome game, but I'm not sure how someone coming to it fresh would deal with the controls, because it does feel very dated.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But it's another game that feels like it's just going to be forgotten about and lost, and it could really do with a remaster if it had decent controls.
Well, it's got the... So yeah, like you've been playing the PS3 remaster, so it has been...
But that's just
technically
a kind of graphical thing, isn't it? It's
But
not,
then in
it's
the-
not a remake like Shadow of the
No,
Colossus.
it's true. But then in the PS5 rumors, to be true, all these games will become available for Magic.
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you can lend us all your PS3 games, Michael.
I don't think they'll work in a disc drive, though, will they? It's not going to be
That's
that
how they
simple.
get you.
Any more for any more? That's a lot of games we've been playing.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well done, everybody. On to the week's news, shall we? So, I suppose we might as well start with Pokemon, shall we? So, as we were saying at the top of the show, just after we recorded the last show, the day after, it was Pokemon Day, and a Nintendo Direct went up. It was only a short one, wasn't it? About 7 or 8 minutes. And Pokemon Sword and Shield was unveiled, which is kind of a cool name for the games. I said this to you guys on a chat afterwards. I'm amazed that they're bringing 2 games out on Switch, because they're going to be full price, like 50 quid probably games. That seems like a massive buy-in for
reckon-
your kids who want...
I reckon they'll be all right. People will buy them.
I know,
Yeah.
People
But it's
always
always
buy
been that
them,
way,
don't they?
hasn't it?
I know, yeah, but
It's been 2.
at least DS games were maybe 35 quid. It's,
But we had Pokemon
each.
Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. They're
well,
both full
that
price,
is
weren't
true,
they?
yeah.
Yeah, they're not
I think in my head those are budget games somehow.
They're not afraid of pricing at a premium, are they?
No,
Like,
no.
You know,
Yeah.
they're not sort of like, oh, should we make this cheaper?
No.
No, you're fired instantly.
Get out.
So, just to give a little bit of the information, Nintendo revealed that Pokemon's 8th generation is Pokemon Sword and Shield, as we said, launching in late 2019, which if they get that right, they've got a stonking 2019 coming up.
Yeah.
It's set within a this is what made me laugh the most, set within a fictional version of England named Galar. I'm not quite sure
Galar.
what bit of
'Cause it
England
showed
it's
you a
based on.
very vertical type map, wasn't it? Straight
Yeah,
up.
which obviously then at the very end of it had a mountain with a bigger mountain on top of it with a house on it, which is where you have to go to do the ultimate
Oh, okay.
championship at the end. I'm guessing. And then it showed the starting Pokemon you'll get, which includes Grookey, a grass-type monkey, one for Andy.
Wow. Why?
I don't know. The fiery rabbit Scorbunny.
That's going to be my one. That's going to be my one.
And a water-type tadpole called Sobble.
Sobble?
No one wants to be Sobble, do they?
Sobble's been getting some abuse online.
I'm going to hazard a guess that the least chosen first Pokemon will be Sobble.
Is Sobble going to be the Waluigi of the Pokemon world? It's going to be the counter...
I saw a kind of fun
Sobble
thing where people overlaid the Powerpuff Girls, and these three do look exactly like the Powerpuff Girls, which is quite interesting.
Right.
I'm not saying there was any. There's no deeper thing there. That's just what it was. And random battles are coming back, so this is different.
Not
than
happy about
Pokemon Yellow. So go on, you Pokemon people.
Well, no, I really liked that in the Let's Go stuff. The fact that I know that when you did an encounter, it was more just a mini game of catching them. You didn't battle them, but I don't know why they couldn't have a battle but when you walk into the Pokemon. It was just a nicer way of, I guess, sort of seeing and navigating, like, right, I'm looking for this particular type of Pokemon. But also I imagine those sort of caves and those areas when you've got to sort of just get through them, and it becomes such a chore when it's just constant random battle after random battle. So I was a bit disappointed by that.
It feels a bit... I've never been a fan of random battles. It feels a bit archaic. But wasn't it originally they were because of the hardware? They couldn't cope with too many characters on the screen? I think
it's
that's
just a
why
JRPG trope as well, isn't it? I mean, it's just like Final Fantasy. It's always random battles.
But like Luke says, if you're looking for one particular Pokemon, you have to basically trip into each fight, and I'm sure it'll let you run away, but even that's going to get tiresome after a while.
There'll probably be a more like in-depth repellent mechanic or something for those times. But yeah, it was just I feel like we've regressed a little bit. I thought we'd evolved into, see what I did there, into a different type of like gameplay, but now we're going back.
But this is what the vocal minority on the internet wanted.
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, curse them!
They've got their way again.
That was loud.
I think it did look nice, though. I mean, like in terms of the sort of graphics, I guess it's the same sort of look as Pokemon, but they've just spent a lot more time on the backgrounds and the environments.
Yeah, well, a bit like what we were saying last week when Sami was here, but. We were kind of hoping it would be the Breath of the Wild of Pokemon, but it isn't that.
A new type of approach.
Which was our prediction that didn't come true, of course. Where it looks just like a prettier Game Boy version with mostly the same mechanics.
But that's probably what people want.
Do you think there'll be like a grass verge that you've got to find a cutting Pokemon to get through?
Probably, yeah. TMs and HMs.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was Pokemon. I suppose we'll see more later in the year.
Let's hope so. If this is the last we hear of it.
I reckon one day they'll just bring it out, and that'll be all the fanfare.
That'll be their E3 though, wouldn't it? Or it'll just be like, let's talk about Pokemon for 40 minutes.
Maybe you're right, actually.
It was like that with Smash Bros. Wasn't it?
Okay, we'll have to do an E3 prediction soon. My word. Little bits and pieces of news. So Oscar Isaac, who is Poe Dameron, that's right, isn't it, in Star Wars, has said he would like to play Snake in a Metal Gear movie. So, first of all, could you see him as Snake, and do you think Konami's got any interest in creating a Metal Gear film?
I'm not sure he's got that gruff enough voice. He's quite chipper.
He is in Star Wars, but have you seen Annihilation?
Yes, I have actually.
He's a bit gruffer in that, isn't he?
He's almost like an actor who can play different roles, isn't he?
Yeah. It's one of those old method actor types.
I'll tell you what, he should probably do that as a career or something, because he's pretty good at it.
Well, you know that Kojima would want it to either be Mads Mikkelsen or Norman Reedus. It wouldn't he? It would like basically they're his pals.
Yeah, one of the celebrity mates.
Kiefer David Hayter is basically just right out at this point. Who's the voice of Snake?
But he must own the actual the kind of license to be able to option it. You know,
I don't think so, because they had Kiefer Sutherland in, admittedly as a vaguely different Snake, but
no. But what I'm saying is to make a movie of it, they would have to get.
You're talking about Kojima?
They are, though.
I thought you were talking about David Hayter.
No. He'd have to sign it off.
No, I don't think he has any of the rights to it.
Konami owns it.
Yeah, but no, I think it is happening. I think because there's been a bit of a back and forth about this. About like, I think the ball is in now Oscar's court, because I think the producers have said something along the lines of like, "Cool, that could potentially work." If we
okay, fair enough. He was also Apocalypse in the X-Men one of the later X-Men films.
He was purple in that.
He was.
He
he wasn't my. He wasn't my Apocalypse. I'll tell you that. So this obviously led us to speculate on what other actors you'd like to play the roles of famous video gaming roles. Brie Larson, who's going to be Ms. Marvel in the upcoming Ms. Marvel, imaginatively titled, had already come out onto Twitter, and she took pictures of herself in Halloween last year where she was dressed as Samus. And she basically said, I want to play Samus. And she did look exactly like Samus from... she was dressed as what,
Zero
Fusion?
Suit?
Yeah, Zero Suit, Samus with the blonde hair but the armor suit. That was what she was wearing, and she looked pretty cool. Hugh Jackman is continually linked as being Joel in The Last of Us, if they ever do that.
Yeah.
Isn't this kind of quite
cool.
a circular thing where probably Joel was based on Hugh Jackman?
Yes.
I think so.
Your next point.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's the big one.
Well, yeah, this is one that Luke added after, and obviously there is now the fan film of Uncharted starring Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
But was Nate based on Nathan Fillion?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
but
I don't
seems like it
think
should
so.
be.
Yeah.
To me, annoyingly for him now, I think he's probably a little bit too old to play that
Well, that's
part. It always
why-
looked a bit odd to me in that fan film or whatever. It wasn't quite a fan film.
But wasn't it Tom Holland was supposed to be slated to be the young
I
Nathan
think that's
Drake?
confirmed.
That's
isn't it?
confirmed?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've just confirmed it.
hang on, I'm getting it in. Confirmed.
Scoop.
I'll just do some research. We'll see. I'm sure that's confirmed though.
This also made me think about films and TV shows and that, which just seem to be just always in production. Like Halo has been in production now for about 10 to 15 years, I think, a TV series. I think Steven Spielberg was linked to it at one point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
They did a big at the E3 where I think Xbox One was launched.
yeah, they got as far as
Spielberg was
basically-
on screen saying, "I love Halo.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen." Yeah.
Still waiting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
It
it has been confirmed.
confirmed.
Tom
Yeah.
Holland is to play Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there
Breaking
we
news from last year.
Hollywood scoop. But I think it'd be interesting with what's it called? The Joel. Who was it?
Joel?
Hugh Jackman.
Right.
That would be basically very similar to the last Wolverine movie, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
pretty much the exact same thing. So it'd be like, well, if that was him, it would be
But he
like,
wouldn't have to get as ripped for it, which is probably a bonus for him, because that must hurt.
He probably is already quite ripped, though.
Well,
isn't he?
I'm more than most men, but I'm sure for to get in shape for Logan, it must be quite hard.
He was pretty. He was buffer in one of the other ones, wasn't it? Like Origins or something.
Yeah,
where he
the one
looked
where
like
he's in Japan.
freakish.
Yeah.
And what about Ellie? So in theory that would be Ellen Page, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Again,
I don't think can they go there because didn't she sue?
Yeah. I think
she did, yeah.
I'm not sure if that actually. Really
I don't think
ever
she was.
happened.
I don't think she was mad keen on the fact they used her likeness.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
But yeah, she clearly looks just like what Ellie looks like.
although
allegedly.
not in the second game by the looks of it.
Well, no, but then would they? They'd probably just have to make the first game first. Or...
It must have really grated for it. Obviously, they used a they used
Allegedly.
someone allegedly used someone, but also it was a gay character, wasn't it, as well? So it's like they're almost using her story as well. Like, I don't know, that feels much worse.
And also,
than,
she was in Beyond, so it kind of took the spotlight off
yeah,
Beyond,
yeah,
didn't it?
it was
'Cause
like
she was actually in the
Yeah.
Beyond game.
obviously alleged, you know, but yeah, it must have been quite weird. It must be, do you remember like Lindsay Lohan's lawsuit must still be going? Do you know?
No, that got.
Oh,
that got settled,
yeah,
Grand
the
Theft Auto.
GTA thing. Yeah, that
yeah,
got.
that was so stupid.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
I would
Yes.
like to see Christopher Judge play Kratos. Is it Christopher Judge? Yeah, as the voice
I don't
of
know
Kratos.
what crazy.
Yeah.
Get the Rock
Um,
as Kratos.
Nah.
Yeah, so you can either play this two ways. I can either say some character names and you have to tell me an actor that you'd like to
Right.
play them, or we can just say what character should The Rock play.
No. Let's go with the first one. I'm up for the first
All right,
one.
well, all right. I'm not writing any down. I'm not prepared, but let's say Super Mario.
Well,
Bob Hoskins.
In today's modern era of actors,
Danny DeVito.
I was going to say those.
that would work so well.
You could have like a twins moment where so when he eats a mushroom he becomes Arnold Schwarzenegger, so it's with a mustache. I like that idea.
What other gaming?
I'm going to throw one out. Duke Nukem.
Whoa,
Oh,
that's a
gosh.
good one.
Dolph Lundgren, is he still around?
Yeah.
That's a good shout.
He's a little too old now, though, isn't he? Although he was still looking good in Creed 2.
Creed
wasn't
2,
he?
yeah.
I don't know. Like you need a blonde. There's not many blonde actors.
What about
around
Chris
these days.
Hemsworth?
He played like Thor.
Yeah,
Thor.
yeah, actually, yeah, that,
Buff
that's,
guy.
that's probably perfect. Actually, guy, you get in touch with Hollywood. You've made it.
You should be a casting director. What am I doing here?
Yeah, that's a really good one. Should we, what about Goku?
Oh,
Although that's also Chris Hemsworth.
Jedward, are they around? So they could do it.
Yeah.
One more. Let's go with Master Chief.
Well, I mean,
Assuming you see his face.
okay.
okay, yeah. It's like Judge Dredd and Sylvester Stallone. So don't take the helmet off.
How about the Stig from Top Gear?
Perfect. Yeah.
Ideal. Perfect. All right, that's
Well,
done.
there you
That's
go.
done.
That's Hollywood sorted.
Yeah, perfect.
Final little bit of news is a humdinger, because that's a phrase from the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it?
Just like Weezer.
Radical.
Radical.
Gnarly.
So apparently, so Weezer World has been woven into the creative mode of Fortnite.
What?
A lot of
Weezer,
W's in that sentence.
Weezer World, yeah.
Yeah.
Woven.
Yep.
And there's a jukebox where you can listen to 4 unreleased songs from the band's 13th album,
Black
it's called the
Album.
Black Album.
Yeah, good album.
Yeah, what an odd fit.
Yeah.
That is odd, isn't it?
It is
Yeah.
odd.
Doesn't make
Although,
Fortnite that's popular with a lot of people, but mainly a lot of young people. And then Weezer, who I've not listened to one of their albums for at least 10 years.
I think, from what I understand, Rivers is a big fan of Fortnite, and he tweeted about it previously.
Right.
So he was playing it with his daughter or something a year or so ago. So I guess that opened up a communication with the Fortnite guys, and then it happened. But they've flirted in the past with kind of technology.
Yeah, well, they had Marshmello do his live concert in there, so I suppose this is on the
Yes.
same kind of lines.
Yeah, but I meant Weezer, because Weezer were on the they were on the Windows 95 installation
Yeah.
disk.
When they were already relatively well known.
Yeah.
So-
The video for Buddy Holly was on it, and you could watch it in stunning low resolution. And they also did a video for, I think it was Pork and Beans, with a load of like YouTube stars. So they're obviously
Oh, that was the memes one.
yeah.
They're kind of happy with that world then, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. Good, it's probably better for Weezer than it is for Fortnite, I
Yeah.
suggest. But
Yeah, definitely.
interesting. But yeah, it's amazing how Fortnite is kind of slowly but surely becoming more than a game. It's becoming a platform,
Yeah.
and there's just so much potential there. It's quite scary in a way with so many people playing it at any one time. But then Apex Legends is kind of hit 50 million subscribers this week, so it's kind of hot on its tail, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's it for the news. We've got a listener letter, a listener tweet.
Tweet.
So, did you know the Switch 2? Well, sorry, this is from Adam in Glasgow, but I was editorialising his writing here, which is not very nice of me. So the Switch turned 2 on the 3rd of March. How do you think the console has done, and where can it be improved? And then 2 questions. What games, past, present, and future, do you think should be on it? So let's do the first one first, shall we? So what do you think is to be improved on the Switch? Like the hardware, the operating system.
Battery.
Yes,
Yeah.
good shout.
I mean,
Battery.
it does need a better battery.
Yeah.
Bluetooth added as well, so you can Bluetooth headphones.
Yeah, that is annoying as
Yeah,
well.
that
isn't
would
it?
be a great one. I've still got the problem where if I'm playing it disconnected from the 2 controllers, this like what they call the small ones,
Joy-Cons.
Joy-Con, yeah.
they get they lose the. I know it's the old.
There's been a
fault
lot of
with it.
issues.
Yeah.
And my one is like it's actually not. It's not a day one Switch. It's maybe a year or so into the Switch's lifespan. But yeah, I've updated them, I've reset them, I've hard reset them, and all sorts to
What's the
them.
problem? Just losing the connection.
Yeah, they just lose. So on a game like Treasure Stack, like I was talking before, it's really split second. You've got no time, and it's just super laggy or else unresponsive
I had to send mine back to the shop.
because of that problem.
Well, no, because one of my Joy-Cons was drifting. Apparently, it's quite a common issue, and so Nintendo will repair it free of charge. So
What
literally a couple
what
of
does
days.
drifting mean?
So it will. So on mine, if I was controlling a character, there was walk left, which isn't ideal.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have that. I just have persistent disconnects or unresponsiveness. It's
Good
really
for
weird.
if it was the other way, it'd be good for a side-scrolling.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You'd be
I have no
leave
complaints.
it. You got me a cup of
Auto
tea.
run.
Suppose
You
it
just need
turned
to buy
upside down.
games that go the other right to left.
It
That's
could
all you
do
need.
with some quality of life stuff, definitely.
Would you upgrade the screen, or is the screen happy?
It's fine.
The screen's
Are we
alright
happy
because
with
it
it?
keeps the price down. Because if it was
Yeah.
more higher resolution, it would be much more expensive.
I think the games that are made for it suit it, and they're keeping that very much. If they were doing like, kind of a bit more advanced games in terms of graphical, rendering and stuff like that, it would look really rubbish.
I mean, hardware-wise, I'd also like a D-pad on the Joy-Con. Is that too much to ask?
I know, you have to buy them, don't you?
You can get the mods for that.
I know, but the ones you buy don't have they're third-party and they don't have a battery in them.
Oh,
the
shaking.
Yeah, no rumble.
And they also, I can't remember what I was going to say. Don't know.
Is this the first Nintendo console without a decent D-pad?
It must be, mustn't
Could
it?
be. I mean, there is one on the Pro controller though.
I know,
That's what I was going to say. There's the NES controller,
But-
and the Pro one, and they have it. Yeah.
That's 60 quid and you can't use it undocked, I assume.
It is an expensive control pad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've looked at buying one for so long, and every time I just think I can't spend 60 quid on it.
You can get a little dongle that you plug into your dock, and then you can sync a PlayStation controller with it. I've done that.
That's a good
Works
option.
beautifully.
Very good.
That's
Maybe that's
a
what I'll
good
do.
tip, actually. A good money-saving tip. Yeah, I like
And
it.
then, so in terms of the games, operating system first. Anything else on the operating system?
Web browser.
I think.
Let's have a web browser.
But then, do you ever use the one on the PlayStation?
Well, I don't.
Mind you,
I mean,
it is
just
a tablet. I guess.
nice for looking something up quickly. If it's just, I mean, I don't think it needs like Netflix or any of that type of stuff on there. But we've got YouTube. Let's just have a cheeky web browser in there if I need to look up an FA, a walkthrough or something.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, I just use my phone in that case. But I think the shop UI is completely awful. Like the whole kind of the menu system UI is terrible.
It's never getting improved. Let's face it.
I mean, but that's their thing, isn't it? That's one of their slogans. We're bad at UI.
But also, there's so much content. You're right. It's part of the problem is that there's so much content on the shop. There's 100 new games released every week.
Yeah.
90% of them I've never heard of.
In fairness, Steam's just as broken, and that just as bad in that way, and it's been going for a lot longer, and they've probably been trying to solve it for a lot longer. But it's really, when you've got that many new games coming out every single week, how do you create them? It's really difficult. So they have new and they have cheap. What more can you really do?
Yeah.
They have features as well, don't they?
Featured, you can. I mean, like deals and offers and stuff like that.
They need to employ whoever does that at Netflix, who then hooks up what you want to watch next to do it on those sorts.
They need
of
some
shops.
Algorithms.
Get
some of those
Get them to the
algorithms.
I'll tell you what,
algorithms.
I'll just tweet Nintendo. You need algorithms.
Get some algorithms.
Download some.
And then in terms of games, I thought this was like quite interesting. Like my favourite game, which needs to be on something, is Beautiful Joe. It's such good. Like talking about games which are locked in one era. Beautiful Joe 1 and 2 are in the PS2 era and GameCube era, and have never come out elsewhere. And they are well in need of being given like the Bayonetta treatment or something and coming out on Switch. I think they'd still look amazing because they were like cell shaded, and I think they'd upscale to HD really well without much effort, a bit like Akami did.
Akami looked great, didn't it? Yeah.
But that looked great in PS2 era, and it looked even better without much effort, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that with absolutely no experience of developing games.
I want a new WarioWare, maybe for the Switch. I reckon that'd be silly. They could come up with all kinds of nonsense to do with the.
Well, like that 1-2 Switch game felt like it should have been a WarioWare game, right? Didn't it?
Yeah.
But the WarioWare games are so ridiculous because they've got just such a weird sense of humour. That some of it is so bizarre.
I think there's one that was on the Wii that never got, like, it's still in the downloadable only, like, eShop on Wii. So they could probably recycle that and bring it back or something quite easily. And then, like, in terms of games for the future, does anyone feel like Red Dead Redemption 2 needs to be on the Switch or anything like that? You know, I don't. It's not. I know it's not. I know that. Well, no, I know that technologically now it's not possible. But who knows if they'll bring out a Switch Pro? But would you then want them to bring back all of those PS4 games we played but on Switch, or do you think it needs to go a different way?
It's difficult, isn't it? That's not the reason I come to the Switch. But then again, I've got
a PS4.
Yeah, I've got a PS4. But I guess if you don't have that, you would obviously you would want those games.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a shame that there's nothing a bit more kind of, with that kind of content. It's still, there's like Wolfenstein and a few of the old Bethesda games, but it doesn't feel like there is that kind of rich content. So if you want to go beyond the kind of sort of cutesy graphics sort of area, it's a bit limited. But again, it's like, you must have done some research as though, well, most people have got a kind of combination of consoles, so they must have kind of gone, well, look, this is what people come for the Switch for, and maybe that's just actually forcing it, because they've never really done that before, have they? They've never gone for those big, Grand Theft Auto.
Not really.
Market.
Well, Nintendo doesn't really do realistic-looking games itself. It's always cartoon. like skewed anyway.
Well, they always design the hardware around their first party stuff, don't they? And then the third parties just have to fall in line, basically.
yeah, do what you want.
Yeah.
They could do Red Dead with cartoony graphics, I suppose. But,
Yeah, they probably suggest it, haven't they? Like, and you can't shoot anybody. Everyone's got to shake hands.
Well, that's
Well,
the
there
thing
was,
now. They do quite happily let 18s go on. It used to be the thing that Nintendo
Yeah,
would.
but there's Doom on there.
Yeah.
But there's also the 2 versions of Final Fantasy 15.
Yes.
There's like the
There is.
big normal version on the bigger consoles, and then there's like a pop version or something where it's really cartoony.
Did that come to Switch? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so. I remember hearing about it. So
It's definitely out on other platforms.
Yeah.
Just release everything. All the old
Everything.
Hashtag everything on Switch.
every old Nintendo
Max
game.
Payne 3.
And make a new F-Zero game, because it's been
yeah.
a long
There's also
time.
the
Yeah.
Metroid games that we've,
Yeah.
have been like rumored to be coming to Switch for ages, but they need to do the trilogy at some point soon. And then I'd like Star Fox, definitely proper Star Fox. 'Cause-
Atlas, Battle for Atlas is Yep, that was it. Starlink Battle for Atlas is.
That's a clunky title.
But I want Nintendo to make it, if you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, the last one they made though was super complicated. The one on the Wii U,
Zero.
wasn't it?
I'm not
So-
sure if that was it them who made. I can't remember if it was like farmed out to a third party almost. But yeah, that I didn't play that one. But apparently the control scheme was wedded to the Wii U to the point where it became unplayable. But yeah, a new, excellent, different. Surely there's everything you just go, I want a Breath of the Wild, but that
in space.
in space.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't think we've covered any of half of that, but we've done quite well. I think.
Sorry.
On the record,
On the
shall we?
record.
Which I've not printed out, so you're on your own.
So I bet. So the first one we'll go for is the best-selling video game platform. What is it? Can you
Oh,
guess?
sorry. To give the context of this.
Well, you know you're going to give it away if you say
Oh,
that.
right. Okay, yeah.
I think you mentioned it in the intro.
I think.
I'll take a punt. Is it the PlayStation 2?
It is indeed. There you go, Mike. What were you going to say?
I
So-
think I can probably. I think I know how many it's sold.
Well, you have a guess. I'll have a guess. No, you go first.
All right. I think it's 154 million.
That's very specific.
That is, I'm going to go.
We've had this as a question on the quiz.
We have, yeah.
I'm going to go 148 million.
Right. So it is 157 million.
Oh, it's close.
680,000. Since its release on the 4th of March 2000, up until when it was discontinued on the 4th of January 2013.
Wow.
I was going to basically say that these sales figures come from VG Charts on the 5th of March. We're just after the 19th anniversary of the PS2 and 6 years after it was discontinued. So the success is partly owed because of its massive library of games, its backwards compatibility with original PlayStation games and its hardware, because I think some of the controllers worked, and the built-in DVD player and potential for online connectivity.
Yeah, that was such a massive thing at the time, wasn't it? Much like with the original PlayStation, just playing a CD was quite big for that as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that?
You could play your Spice Girls album and
Or your
I love
Weezer
that.
albums.
Yeah.
Other than that, I was going to ask you guys what your first games on the PS2. Mine was Grand Theft Auto 3. I remember getting it for Christmas. The PS2 and Grand Theft Auto 3, along with Evolution on DVD.
Wow.
David Duchovny.
Great,
Yeah.
great Christmas.
I'm sure that hasn't aged at all. Still a classic.
I had Evil Dead on DVD back then, and the PlayStation 2 couldn't. Evil Dead 2 it was, and like the menu of it was this thing where it was like the house, and it would go. It was 3D rendered, and it would go pan around the house, and it would make the PlayStation slow to like a. It was too detailed. I'm really struggling to remember what
Mine as
PlayStation
well.
2
What-
games I had.
What were some launch titles for it? Because I'm struggling to think what.
I came to it quite late, and my first game was San Andreas. That's the first
Oh,
game
wow,
I
yeah,
played.
that's-
That broke-
so I was pretty late.
That broke many PlayStations.
It did,
so-
yeah. Actually, that disc broke, and I had to get a company. You know when they like take a layer off a CD
Yeah.
and it works again. And it's like half the time it doesn't work, but it did actually work. They just like mill
So
a
they
layer
just
off
shave
it.
it.
Yeah, they just
essentially.
shave a layer off it, and it like the corrupted layer just goes. So it started working again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Blimey. Well, I didn't play any of the launch games. They were all terrible. It really is a terrible
Oh,
lineup
it was
of launch
Pesson.
games.
That was the one with famously at E3, wasn't it? With the crab, the giant. Was it that game?
That's
The giant crab
Giant
game?
enemy
Giant
crab.
crab.
Oh no, that was PlayStation 3,
Yeah,
sorry, wasn't it?
yeah.
That was no, it wasn't that.
But yeah, I played a lot of San Andreas as well.
Yeah.
I just spent hours just driving around listening to the soundtrack because it was just
that was good.
it was
So
amazing.
I know.
Not as
gonna
good as
look.
Vice Cities though. Vice Cities was amazing. I
Well,
liked
it was a
it.
good game.
Vice City was definitely the one that I played the most out of all of the GTAs. I actually finished that one, which I don't think I've ever done with any other GTA since or before, actually.
Yeah, I finished as 4.
I spent a lot of time playing Eco, obviously, which I'm
Yeah.
now playing again.
Playing
Oh, yeah, of course.
And Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Wow, you've literally not changed
no,
at all.
just living in the past.
Oh, and Metal Gear Solid 2. That I remember being
Yeah, of course,
so
yeah.
excited when that
Oh
came
yeah,
out.
that was good,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
And that intro.
Did you get the demo from on
Yeah, of
Zone
course
of
we did,
Enders?
yeah,
Zone
that-
of Enders.
The only reason anyone bought Zone of the Enders. I think actually I got my one off a magazine back in when magazines used to have discs on the front, and one of them did the
wow.
demo on it.
Oh wow,
But yeah, oh,
Demo.
wow, that was so good.
Oh, Ape Escape.
that wasn't on PlayStation 2,
Oh,
was
wasn't
it?
it?
Was it? Well, I think there was one on
I
PlayStation
definitely
2.
played an Ape Escape on the
Oh,
PlayStation.
okay. Yeah.
In some form.
Well, we'll move on.
yeah.
Yeah.
To the most critically acclaimed PlayStation 2 game, which is Resident Evil 4, which has achieved a 95.85% rating, as verified on the 5th of March. This was verified by GameRankings.com, and this record sits above Grand Theft Auto 3 and Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, which are ranked 2nd and 3rd, respectively. Resident Evil 4 was originally part of the Capcom 5, which were 5 GameCube exclusives to be released by the developer with the goal of boosting hardware sales and showing off third-party developer support for the GameCube. In response to pressure from users and shareholders, 2 months before the game's January 2005 release, Capcom revealed that the PlayStation 2 port would be published 9 months after the GameCube version. So my question to you guys is, name the other 4 games
I feel like one
of
of
the
them.
GameCube.
I feel like Mike's mentioned one of them already today.
Yeah, Beautiful Joe
Yeah,
was
Beautiful
one.
Joe.
Yeah.
There was that Piano 3 or something, a weird,
Right.
where you're the lady who can do lots of crazy martial arts.
Yeah.
And the other one, I can't remember anymore. I don't know. There was a time when I was so excited about all of these games coming out, but one of them didn't come out, so I know that because we talked about it before.
We did talk about that before.
Did they remaster Code Veronica for the GameCube, or was that one of the games?
That wasn't part of this thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
They did, I think.
what about Resident Evil 0? Did that come to or 1? The remaster. of
That
1?
did come to the GameCube, but it's not part of the
Oh.
Capcom 5.
But one of them didn't come out,
Yeah. So the one that didn't come out is Dead Phoenix.
which was like
It was cancelled.
Panzer Dragoon style
Yeah.
thing.
The other game was Killer 7.
Oh, yeah,
of
which
course.
Killers.
I think I
Yeah.
own that as well.
Yeah.
I remember when Resident Evil 4 came out on the GameCube, and I was so excited about it. I went to town, and nowhere sold GameCube games anymore.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had to go home and order it online because I literally couldn't find it on the high street.
And get a PS2.
Yeah,
Or the
get
PS2
PS2
version 9
instead.
months
Yeah, because if you remember back then, GameCube games just disappeared from shelves. Nobody was selling them by then.
Well, the Nintendo section just got smaller
Yeah.
and smaller and smaller, didn't it? And then suddenly, like when the Wii came out, virtually no one was stocking the Wii because everyone just assumed it was going to die like the GameCube did, and then everyone
Just
wanted one, and
exploded, yeah.
then none of the shops had
Yeah.
one, and there was like queues outside HMV or whatever, wasn't there, for months and months, for
That's
like,
true,
hours and
yeah.
hours to try and get one.
Yeah.
And they'd have signs in the window going, "We have a Wii in stock," and
I got mine release day delivered to my
yeah,
home.
I didn't get it delivered. I went and picked mine up.
Ah.
That was actually the day or week I moved to London.
Was it?
Oh,
So basically, you didn't go out.
memories.
You just stayed
No,
there.
yeah, I had no friends.
I've made
at
it to
that
London. I'm going to sit inside my
dear.
apartment and play on the Wii.
Right, so the final one. You got to guess the game.
It's not the quiz.
First PlayStation 2 game to support online play.
Is it SOCOM?
No.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I actually know this because I read it.
Is it a sports game?
Kind of.
You're in the right ballpark.
What's kind of... Is it wrestling?
It's not wrestling, no.
What's kind of a sport?
Yeah. Kind of a sport.
I think these days it would be quantified as a sport.
Oh, yeah, no, but I guess I need... In the strictest sense, I guess.
Chess.
It's not chess.
Is it one of the wrestling games?
It's not wrestling, no. We've covered that.
You will know it. As a clue, it has a very good soundtrack.
Oh, great soundtrack.
Wipeout.
No. What?
That's not futuristic car racing. It's not a sport.
Gran Turismo?
No.
No.
I suppose it's not really a sport.
All right, one last guess.
I literally got no idea.
Flogging a dead horse here. Come on. Let's
Yeah,
put
so
them
the
out
first
their misery.
PlayStation 2 game to support online play is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Right,
Developed by
yeah,
Neversoft and released on the 30th of October 2001. This was also published by Activision. The game is unique because you did not need the chunky PlayStation 2 network adapter to play it online. You just needed a standard USB to Ethernet adapter and a dial-up connection.
Ooh.
Wowza.
Let's hope no one's on the phone.
I remember playing Doom on a dial-up connect, like just
Oh,
one
God.
to like one PC to another PC. God.
That's torturous.
Yeah, that was before like the internet even really existed. I think.
Before the internet.
It's
Before the internet ruined everything.
So that's thanks, Luke. We don't have a quiz. Sorry to disappoint you.
I
didn't-
with quizziness there.
I have been literally in meetings all
Well,
day,
we've won the past 3 quizzes, so
Yeah.
so I thought I'd give you a
Yeah.
rest.
Well,
You've
This
used
is
your
we've got
brain.
bye week, so
Yeah.
we can just go out and buy big watches and mansions.
Yeah,
with
that's
our
it.
monies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use this week to settle in and celebrate.
I'll probably get like a whole tattoo sleeve because that's what you do. A
3
footballer would do.
wins.
That escalated fast.
Massive picture of Lara Croft.
Oh, wow! All right.
But yeah, so that is all we have got time for this week. I've been, well, shall I say, you can, if you enjoyed the show, you can go online, search on your search engine of choice for Guinness World Records Games Edition.
Alta Vista, it's a popular one.
Alta Vista.
Yahoo.
And you'll be able to find our
Jeeves.
shows on YouTube. You can ask Jeeves if you like. On YouTube and on iTunes and all the other places we put the show out to. I've been your host, Mike Plant, and with me has been Luke Wakeham, Jack Turner,
Hello.
and Andy
Bye.
Lachlan.
Hello.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.